Hey everybody. So by now you've seen Butterbean's new tank. As of this point, I have no idea what that's going to look like yet. But tonight starts the project. We're going to start putting the tank together tonight. I've got a few things done preliminarily. First of all, I've gotten my red-clawed crab tank moved out of the way. Again, this is temporary. The thing I was waiting to get done is you can see that behind the tank is a closet door. Well, with the red-clawed crab tank there, while we don't use that closet very often, I would have been able to get into it if I really needed to. I could have moved that smaller tank out of the way. So what I was waiting to do was have another door installed on the far wall, which is just outside the room here. We can't quite see here. But I did have another door installed in the wall out there, which gives us access to this closet. So that door back there is now more or less just for decoration, and I can go ahead and put a tank here that's going to be a large tank that will not be able to be moved. And that tank is going to be Butterbean's new home. It's a 40-gallon breeder. I was able to get it for the $1 a gallon sale. Of course, the 40-gallon amongst about 6 other tanks were excluded from that, but I did get a pretty good deal on it, and tonight we're actually going to get started putting it together. So far what I've got done and what I've accumulated is the substrate, a hood, and some lights. And that's all going to get on there tonight. I'm going to get it filled up with water. I do have a filter, but I don't have it ready to go just yet. We're going to swap that filter with the filter that's on that 40 breeder on the end there, my Black Ghost knife fish tank. That has a slightly smaller filter on it, and I'm going to take the filter off of this tank and I'm going to put it on the one we're setting up tonight, and then I'm going to take this filter that's sitting here on the floor, and that's going to go right here on my 40-gallon Black Ghost knife fish tank. I think this tank down here is going to need a little more circulation than Butterbean's tank, so that's why I'm swapping the filters. So that'll be a video all by itself. Tonight we're just going to get started on getting it put together, get the water in it, get the substrate in it, get the lights on top, and a little bit later I can talk about how I acquired the hood and the lights and the substrate and so on and so forth. So let me get started and we'll see where we go this evening. Alright, well here we are with the tank filled, and I thought it was worth noting the next segment here, which is putting the hood on it. I'm only going to leave the tank filled with water overnight just to make sure it doesn't leak, so the real progress is going to start tomorrow. But I did want to bring the hood over and get that situated because that involves another tank I've got. So the hood that they sell doesn't match the tank that they sell. I bought the tank from Petco on their $1 a gallon sale, and I'm not sure, I don't remember the brand of the tank, but the lid I bought was an Aqueon. I call it a lid, hood, whatever. It was an Aqueon brand, and this size tank is a really funny size tank. It is just a hair shy of 35 inches to the inside lip here where the recessed hood would sit. And of course the Aqueon is a 35-inch hood on the dot, and it does not fit. It is so close, you want to try to squeeze it in there, but it does not fit. So I don't know if that's the case with your particular Petco, but if you bought a 40 breeder Petco tank, double check that hood before you take it home and think you're going to be able to just sit it up and put it together. Mine has never fit, which is why I've always had an issue with it, and I was really dreading getting a hood for this tank. So where did this dirty filthy hood come from? That came from not this 40 breeder, because I had the same issue with this 40 breeder when I bought it, and I had to buy a hood online, and it wound up taking forever, and it cost me a lot of money, etc. In this particular case, my gudgeon tank is a 40 breeder, and I got this tank from a guy that breeds or bred chocolate zebra plecos. So I got 4 chocolate zebra plecos, this 40 breeder, and the hood all at the same time. And I got to thinking about it. I have no idea the brand of this hood or tank. So when I came over and looked at it, the first thing I noticed was the brand on the tank, or the brand on the hood rather, said Marineland. And when I measured, the hood that was existing on here would have fit my new tank. And when I checked my new hood, which I don't have handy at the moment, the new hood fits in here perfectly. So this tank is the full 35 inches on the inside, so it's clearly a different manufacturer than my other two 40 breeders, and that's the reason it's so dark right now, is because I got the hood off, which means I've also got the lighting fixtures off. But I did want to show you this while we were over here. So it's going to be time to get in here and do a little bit of maintenance while I've got the hood off. I'm probably going to go ahead and do a water change and whatnot, so look forward to some video of that. Of course, by now you've probably already seen that video by the time you're watching this one. At any rate, there you go. I'm going to get back to it. Next step is going to be coming over here and getting this hood cleaned up and put on. But before I do that, I've obviously got a tank with a jumping fish with no hood at all. So that's going to be my first priority, is getting that tank set up, and then we'll get back to working on this. So that'll probably be tomorrow before we do any more on it. Alright, a few days have passed and I'm finally ready to move on to the next step with getting this tank set up. The thing that was holding me back was the lack of this egg crate plastic. Now, what this really is a light diffuser that goes into your standard overhead fluorescent fixture. That's a different type of light diffuser, but it's the same basic principle, and that's what this is made for. So I'm simply going to take a pair of dikes, or diagonal cutters, and cut it to size to fit in the bottom of the tank, and that will allow me to have something in there that will separate the large rocks that I'm going to put in there from the glass on the bottom. Another thing I like to do that I'll point out is I like to put the rocks in on the egg crate plastic before I put any substrate in. That way I know the rocks will stand on their own by themselves, and if you shift any substrate around or anything moves, the rocks are already there. They're already standing on the bottom. So the gravel goes in afterwards, and we'll get to that later. Tonight we're just going to worry about maybe trying to get some rockscapes in there. The rocks I have to work with are these. This group over here I got recently on an outing to George's Creek, and then all of these smaller rocks over here, and there's even a few more in this bucket here, not a lot, but you can see there's some in the bottom. Those all came out of my former angelfish tank as I remade it into my T-bar tank. So that tank right there is where all those rocks came from. So they're going to find a new home in my new brackish tank. So I'm going to get started working on that. I don't know how far I'm going to get tonight, but I will catch up here in a little while and we'll do an update on my progress. I'm at least going to get the egg crate in there and start working on some ideas with rocks. I don't know if I'm going to come up with anything that I'm going to stick with tonight, but at least I'm going to get the creative juices flowing. So sit tight and we'll see what I come up with. Alright, and here we are a few days later. Now, the reason it's been a few days was, one, the bag of substrate I had was not enough to cover the bottom, so I had to run out and get another bag. I have also been waiting for the tank to clear out. The second bag I put in got the water all cloudy, and I will do a separate video just about the substrate by itself, so we'll get into more on that later. But the tank took a couple days to really sort of settle down. And in fact, I was getting in there and was going to start clearing the bubbles out, and the silt and everything had sort of settled on the rock work. And as I got in there and tried to start moving that around a little bit, it was starting to get the tank cloudy and everything again. So I left the bubbles alone and decided I would just go ahead and shoot this segment of video. And now we are to the point where I need to start incorporating plants. I'm going to go ahead and bring some plants over from probably the gourami tank, and I think I'm also going to cut some of the Java fern out of my tank in the living room. It's got some Java fern that's growing pretty crazy in there, and I could cut a few chunks out. And that's probably all I'm going to do in this tank is just some Java, since it's going to be brackish. I don't want any other plants in here that won't survive in the brackish water. So there's the rock work. The next step will be getting some plants in there, and then we'll move to the next step with putting the filter and all that stuff on. Alright everybody, I've been slacking on shooting videos as I've worked along with this tank here. I honestly don't even remember where we left off in the last segment. Pretty sure there were no plants in the tank, so that's new. I've got the filter up and running, I've got the lights on, and I've also got 4 male guppies in the tank. The tank is fully cycled and we're ready to go. So tonight we're going to actually move Butterbean into his new home. So we're going to take him from this little 20-gallon tank, which is filthy looking. The water's clean. I actually just did a water change on it a couple days ago, but I haven't been really concerned about getting the glass cleaned or whatever, because I knew this day was coming here shortly. So I'm going to get the tripod set up, and we're going to try to get it on video when we get Butterbean out of the tank. It's really important when you're catching a puffer fish not to take it out of the water in a net. It's, you know, you need to catch it in some sort of container and keep it in the water. So what I'm going to do is we're going to first remove all of the rocks very carefully while I'm removing some of the water, just because he's going to come up near the surface and kick around, and I don't want him to jump or flip his way out of the top. So we're going to drain about 5 gallons of water out of the tank. I'm going to remove those rocks just to make it a little easier. I've got a really big net, and we're going to sort of corral him into the net, and once he's in the net I can kind of keep the net at the surface of the water, and then we're going to use my little plastic cup to scoop him out of that. That's the idea. So let me get the tripod set up, and we'll see if that's how it actually works or not. And the 2 little Endler's guppies, of course, in there will come out fairly easily, and we'll just go ahead and move them over into the new tank as well. So let me get the tripod set up, and we'll get Butterbean's big move caught on video. Alright everybody, I hope I've got the camera angled properly there. I wiped the glass down a little bit just to give us a better view of what's going on once I get in here and start doing this stuff. I do have some shelf liner on the floor, so I'm not just sitting these wet rocks on the floor. I always feel really bad doing this to him because it really gets him stressed out. I've only had to move him one other time since I got him. I had him in a 20 long for years, and he finally outgrew that and wound up in here. So now this will be the second time I'm moving him, and I'm hoping the 40 breeder will be his permanent home. That should be big enough to house him for the rest of his life. I've read varying descriptions of how big they get, but I've never seen anybody say they get over 4 inches. It's usually 3 is about the upper end. But I have seen 1 or 2 sites claim that he will get up to 4 inches. So let me cut in front of you here for a moment. I'm not sure if this container is going to work to scoop him out. The container I used last time is much smaller. First thing we're going to have to do is move this hood so I can really get in there. Hopefully this is not going to fall over on me and well, we can hope for the best there. We'll see how that goes. Now poor Butterbean's already hiding underneath the power head in the back, so I'm going to have to move that. So the goal will be to get him into this net first of all. And once he's in the net, I hope I can get him into this container. Alright. So he is safely in the container. We're going to take a moment to move the camera. And now we're going to get to see him released. And luck, we'll be able to see this all without him puffing up at all. Alright everybody, there's Butterbean in his new home. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod here for a moment. If I can find a little lever. So he's also got these 4 guppies here. Sorry about this camera work. I'm holding the camera. It's still got the tripod mount in the bottom. It really wasn't meant to be used this way. So there you go everybody. That's Butterbean in his new home. I still have the lights stretched out into the other room, so we'll have to move those cords and get them into better position. That'll all happen once I get the crab tank moved over, but now that I've got the brackish tank broken down, or I'm going to be getting the brackish tank broken down, and Butterbean's in his new home, we can begin working on that. So there you go everybody, my new brackish tank. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you real soon in the next one.